Hey guys, HelpingHans here. Today I'm going to bring you a comparison video between Company Heroes 1 and Company Heroes 2, and also we'll be looking at Company of Heroes Online, the game between the two. And we'll be looking at these games, seeing which ones, which features are better, which are worse, and then we're going to be looking at how, for instance, Relic would make a really good Company of Heroes 3 if it were ever to be made. Hope you enjoy this video. So if you're new here and you have no idea who I am and you're thinking why you should listen to me, here's why. I'm a Company Heroes 2 pro and a veteran of both games. Used to be very good in the first one as well. Won multiple tournaments, and this is going to be my player card showing up on the screen now, and a little bit of information about my tournament winnings as well to show that I do have expert knowledge of the game, and that I will be trying to give my expert analysis and opinions throughout this video. Ever since Company of Heroes 2 came out, there's been big division between the original fan base of Company of Heroes 1 and the new fan base of Company of Heroes 2. And as you can see by these recent comments, still today, nearly every single time Relic posts a Facebook message on their official Facebook page, you'll always see comments like these where people are saying Company of Heroes 1 was better than Company of Heroes 2, CoH 1 so much better than CoH 2. You'll always see these comments. Now, why is that the case? Let's get into the nitty-gritty facts and details. So let's start with a bit of background history. As some of you know, Relic Entertainment used to be owned by the publishing company THQ, but THQ went bankrupt in 2013, and then Relic Entertainment was then acquired by Sega. Now, during the production of Company of Heroes 2, THQ was in a really bad financial situation, and therefore Relic wasn't receiving the most amount of funds it could have been receiving under normal circumstances to make the best game possible. Now you might be thinking, wait, hang on a minute, wasn't Dawn of War 3 published by Sega and created by Relic Entertainment without any transitional period of chaos? And that was a massive failure. But I say to those people that say that, hang on a minute, Dawn of War 3 was a different change of direction in terms of game design that Relic went for, and it totally backfired on them, and that is why the game failed. The game itself, in terms of bugs and optimization, actually runs really well. It was just not what people wanted, unfortunately. So that's why Dawn of War 3 was a big failure. Another thing I want you guys to keep in mind is the fact that Company Heroes 2 is a sequel, and therefore it's really hard to replicate that first-time nostalgia feeling that many Company Heroes 1 fans got when they first picked up the franchise when the first game came out. And when they try and play Company Heroes 2, they want to have that same kind of feeling again, and it just doesn't happen. The next point I want to raise on why Company Heroes 2 was received by some very poorly was the campaign itself. Now, compared to Company Heroes 1 campaign, Company Heroes 2's campaign was all about the horrors of war. It was about how it followed the story of a specific individual, and it followed his horrors of war as he tried to struggle against the Nazis and also against his own Soviet regime.
Where have you been, Private?
Preventing the capture of a valiant Soviet officer, Comrade Major.
That is no excuse for deserting your post. I want the rest of these soldiers executed in the morning.
So, focusing on this negative kind of story was not originally what Company Heroes was about. The first Company Heroes was about heroics. It's in the name, Company of Heroes. It's the heroic deeds of brave soldiers in war. For instance, like the airborne parachuting down to take out the anti-aircraft guns and the artillery pieces on D-Day.
Success on D-Day depended entirely on these men.
Wach auf! Wir werden angegriffen!
So when you look at both games, you can see that that's why it had a big backlash Company Heroes 2, because it's not what people wanted. It didn't do so well in Russia because one famous YouTuber called Bad Comedian made a very popular video with over 1.7 million views now, detailing a very emotive response to how he thought the Relic Entertainment developers were Nazis because of the way they portrayed this war. And I'm very sure that Relic did not intend that in any way, shape or form, but they went for that kind of angle, and that's how it came off to certain people. So that was a really bad design and focus for the Company of Heroes 2 campaign. Another reason why Company Heroes 2 didn't resonate with a lot of the Company Heroes 1 fan base was because of the lot of microtransactions embedded in the game. Now, there are a lot of cosmetic microtransactions, which I'm totally fine with, but there were a few pay-to-win microtransactions that were in the game as well. It wasn't intended, but it just happened. You wanted new commanders. These new commanders were new. They're not really balanced that well. For instance, I remember when the Tiger Ace commander came out, the Elite Troops commander over here, as you can see here. The Tiger Ace used to be incredibly strong and ridiculously overpowered before it got buff changes and nerfs. So this is why a lot of people thought, oh, Company Heroes 2 is pay to win, because people could just buy this commander and win most games, which was the case when the commander first came out. But once it got balanced, the original commanders that you were given with the base game could compete with these other commanders. But originally that was not the case. And that is why a lot of people were like, oh, Company Heroes 2 pay to win, don't want to even touch it. And a lot of competitive players and outside people looking in won't even touch a game if they see any kind of elements of pay to win at all. Another thing I want to point out is that originally, for the most part of Company Heroes 2's lifespan, the only way to get these new commanders and abilities and camouflages was to use real money to purchase these items. Only recently was the in-game currency supply added in the last year or so. Now this supply can be earned through playing the game. So that was a really good, thing that Relic have added recently. But this kind of feature should have been added at the start, in my opinion, because that would have alleviated any kind of idea of pay to win. However, that being said, even new commanders that are being added to the game sometimes cannot be bought with supply, only real money, which I don't like. So I would definitely say that there should be two different ways of purchasing, always through playing the game a lot or using real money. Moving on, let's talk about how the fact when Company Heroes 2 launched, it had a serious lack of features, which definitely hurt its reputation and stopped Company Heroes 1 fans from moving over to Company Heroes 2. So if we take a look at the Company Heroes 1 main menu interface, you can see here that we've got a chat where everyone can easily see each other. It's very clear to see. It's from the top of the main menu. And you've got the leaderboards where you can check people's stats in the game. Now, when Company Heroes 2 launched, it didn't have any of this. There was no proper chat system, so you couldn't speak to anybody. And there was no proper leaderboards. Even when you launch, you still play games in Company Heroes 2. You don't see a person's rank appear when you're fighting against them, which I think is a real shame. And now, if you look at Company Heroes 2's chat system, you can see how much worse it is. You can see that it's you can't really see it easily. It's the bottom left-hand side of the monitor. You click it, and then you've got to go navigate into a certain amount of different other categories. Then you've got to click on the group that you want to join. Then it brings up all these tabs at the bottom. It's just cluttered and ugly. It doesn't look nice. And you can see, there are not many people in these chat rooms. No one's even talking ever when you join these. And then you go back to Company Heroes 1. You've always got people talking in those chat rooms, looking for matches and stuff. It's just a real stark difference in the chat system there. And next, let's look onto the leaderboards as well. So if I want to check the leaderboards, there's no clear way immediately. If I go back to the main menu, where the leaderboards are located, there's no easy way to see where I could locate the leaderboards. Only being an experienced player would I know where the leaderboards are, which is you have to click on your player name, then you can find the option to click on leaderboards, and then you can then see the ladder and where you are placed on the current rankings. But it's just not easy to find, and it's just awkward and ugly. It needs to be featured clearly on the main menu. There needs to be a tab saying leaderboards, where people can select and check up on their ranks and stuff. So let's talk about the positives of Company Heroes 2's main menu. So here you can clearly see in the middle of the screen, we've got relevant events and patch information, which is very useful, which is definitely portrayed better in this game, Company Heroes 2 compared to Company Heroes 1. You've also got this really cool Twitch feature. For me personally, because I'm a Twitch streamer and I stream Company Heroes 2 as a job, you can see that you've got all these different streamers, the top 3 streamers that will be showing here live, so you can go check out relevant, cool Company Heroes 2 content, that kind of thing. And also, if you scroll down, you've got some interesting videos as well highlighted, featuring the best action in recent memory in Company Heroes 2. You've also got your player card up here, so you can, and you've got your rank next to it, which is quite nice. Where you've got your 3 bulletins. It all feels like nice and clean, really easy to see what's going on there. Also, you can see in the background that they've got really cool animated flags depending on the faction you're playing. So if I was to switch and play Soviets, the background would change to Soviets. If I was to change to the Austere, the background would change to Austere, USF, OKW, and Brits. So that's a really cool feature. So the background changes depending on what faction you played. That's a nice thing. However, the main menu does, as we all know, if you have played Company Heroes 2, suffers from incredibly poor FPS. No idea why, something wrong with it, but it does. Which Company Heroes 1 never suffered from. So that's a problem there. Maybe it's something to do with the backgrounds being animated like that. So hopefully that, if Relic were ever to make a Company Heroes 3, they would fix that kind of problem, because that is, very annoying, as we all have experienced it if you have played Company Heroes 2. So let's go on into, for instance, their campaign. So here you're going to have a clear indication of which campaign you might want to play, the Soviet campaign or the American campaign. That's quite nice to see. If you wanted to go online and skirmish, you've got some clear little portraits. I like, these little symbols and stuff. Play order match versus players, match space II. So you've got pictures of computers to say that you're up against a computer. So I think that's all fine there. And now if we go into an auto match itself, you can see that we've got the map list here. You can select that. You can hover over a map to see which ones you want to veto, which ones you can choose. And then you can invite players. You can add computers if you wanted to. If you decided to do a custom game, and you can change. You can open up your inventory and change certain things around here. Look at your commanders, and you can list which specific things you want to look at. So if you want to look at only bulletins, you can only look at bulletins. If you just want to look at skins, you can do that, so on and so forth. It's also got a nice feature, Company Heroes 2, where you can turn off custom skins, and so that you can only have historical skins activated. So if that was your preference, you can do that. Company Heroes 2 also has the feature where you can have a victory strike slot as well as a decal. So once you win the game, you'll have a cool little explosion of planes, dropping bombs over your opponent's base, or something of the sort. And a decal, you can have a cool, decal of your choice on your vehicles. But again, that can be only historical or it can be whatever you want. Also, the one other thing though I think is really kind of pointless about Company Heroes 2 is that when you start searching, you can see that you have this big radar thing come round. And you also see you've got Axis and Allies there as well. It tells you the percentages, which is good, so you've got an idea of what side is, if you're more likely to get a game playing as Axis or Allies. But however, the radar thing itself is pretty pointless. It's just a GIF basically going round and round. Now, a really cool thing that Reddit could have done was show on the radar whenever a possible opponent would appear, for instance, or how many people are searching. So how many dots would represent how many people are actually searching for a match in that specific field. That could be a really cool thing that it could have done. Just to quickly go over to the public game list compared to both games, Company Heroes 2 does allow people to let you know if the match has been modded or not, and you can see if the community map is being made by these certain symbols, which is quite nice. However, if you jump over to Company Heroes 1, what you see differently here is the connection type that you will receive when you join the game. So if you join a match with a green bar all the way up, that you're more likely to have a strong connection against the people you're playing with and less lag. And a red bar indicating maybe quite a laggy experience, which you don't have in Company Heroes 2, which is a shame. But apart from that, not a big difference in terms of the public game list. So let's now talk about the mechanics of Company Heroes 2 and how they are superior to Company Heroes 1. So let's talk about the first mechanic, which is True Sight. So True Sight is a system where you can only see what your units can see. So that means if I was to move this conscript squad around the side here, I can't see behind this wall or this fence, which you could do in Company Heroes 1. So Company Heroes 1, you can see in a big circular circumference around your unit. So this new gameplay mechanic allows for you to flank more effectively and set up ambushes more effectively as well. Another very important mechanic I'd like to talk about is vaulting in Company Heroes 2. So the vaulting mechanic allows infantry units to jump over walls and fences to be able to execute better maneuvers around the map, so they could flank enemy units more effectively. So beforehand in Company Heroes 1, they were unable to do that. Another important feature added to Company Heroes 2 is quite a simple one, but it added such a big quality of life to the game, was the reverse mechanic on all vehicles. So instead of, in Company Heroes 1, you had to use shift commands like so to slowly reverse your vehicle back. And if you were to click, if you were to click around like this, the vehicle would automatically turn around, which is not what you want to do. Okay? But in Company Heroes 2, now they've added just a very simple reverse button. So you press R on the hotkey. There's an icon that changes to indicate that you're now in reverse mode, and then you just click back to wherever you want, and the vehicle will now reverse back to that location. Because this is very important, because you always want your frontal armor facing the enemy, because it's harder to hit, harder to penetrate the front than it is the rear. So this is just a really nice, quality of life improvement to Company Heroes 2 over Company Heroes 1. Another little feature they added was also the sinking mechanic on ice, which wasn't in Company Heroes 1. So as you can see, if we try and fire on this tank on the ice, it will sink once the ice underneath it is broken enough, like so. There you go. So there goes the tank sinking all the way down to the ground. Another UI change that I think Company Heroes 2 did very well was on the top right hand side. You can see over here with the icon portraits, so you can clearly see what unit you're selecting. You can see the health of the unit, and they're easy to select. In Company Heroes 1, you had to click on a little icon down here, which opened up all these units. So now they're all available over here. You only have to select them once rather than twice. So it's just nice to see all of them available and alive up here. So it's another good UI change. And also, just want to talk about the factions they have added in Company Heroes 2. There are 5 compared to the 4 in Company Heroes 1. So you've obviously got the British forces here. Over here we've got the Soviets. You've got the Americans there. Over here we've got the Austere. And over here we've got the OKW. So you've got 5 factions in Company Heroes 2, where there's only 4 in Company Heroes 1, which were Panzer Elite, the British, the Americans, and Wehrmacht. So one of the things that Company Heroes 2 does badly is its pinging system. So in Company Heroes 2, there's only one ping, which is Control A for attack here. And like so, if I click there, you can see there's a little noise notification on the map. You can see it on the mini-map there, and you can see it clearly on the gameplay screen as well. So in Company Heroes 1, you can see that we have 3 different pings. We've got attack here, defend here, and capture here. So there you go. You can see it's a different icon for defend, for capture, defend, and attack. You can see clearly that they have different little icons around them. So for red for attack, yellow for defend, and capture, just white and blue for capture. Now Company Heroes 2 probably does it a bit better in terms of like the icon it represents on the ground. But at least in Company Heroes 1, there's 3 different options to tell your team if you didn't have a microphone or you couldn't type, to alert your team about certain actions. So these are very important, and I wish they were in Company Heroes 2. So this is what Company Heroes 1 does better. One thing I like about Company Heroes 1 is their ability to make medics. So you can make a medic station like so, and the medics would go off and pick up squads that are wounded and dying in combat, and these medics would run off, bring these wounded soldiers back to the medic station, and then they would make a new squad, which is a nice little feature there. So you could play the long game, the attrition warfare by doing this.
Construction finished.
Couldn't do that in Company Heroes 2, which was a big shame. Next, I just want to quickly talk about the art style that they went for in terms of the base buildings and structures. Here we can see the austere base. It's just boring and ugly, it's just boring trenches and dugouts and stuff. I want to see big tank factories and stuff like in the days of Company Heroes 1. And over here you've got the same thing with the Soviet base. Again, it's just like, where are the cool tank factories? It's just boring, ugly looking dugouts and stuff. This doesn't have really any feel to it, Now, if we're going to now swap over to the CoH1 bases, you can see a big difference. And I'm pretty sure we all know which ones we prefer, right? Company Heroes 1 had a really cool feature where if you were building a unit, you could clearly see that it was in production via a flashing light or like some sparks flying off inside the building itself. So that was a cool feature they had there, which is not present in Company Heroes 2. So I want to talk about like VPs and capture points. When you capture a point, so this is a VP, it looks really boring, doesn't look that important. The flag as well, when you raise it, is just straight blue or straight red in terms of the enemy. I want to see our faction flag flying. I want to see the hammer and sickle, you know? I want to see something cool and something important about this point. I'm just not seeing it in Company Heroes 2, I'm afraid. Just look at how much more impressive the VP in Company Heroes 1 is compared to the Company Heroes 2. Let's quickly talk about capturing. So, in Company Heroes 2, capturing a point, each point has a circle circumference around it, and all units can still fight in and around this point. And then if there's a enemy unit comes into the circle, the capping will stop until that enemy unit has gone, or vice versa, or I'm retreating, the capping will rotate back around to mean that I'm no longer capturing the point. Now, in Company Heroes 1, if you were to capture a point, the guy that is capturing the point could not fight back, and the unit would take extra damage while capturing. I definitely prefer Company Heroes 2's style of capturing because it just doesn't make sense if one guy was just sitting around idle looking like he's not doing anything and just not firing back. One thing I do want to add though is that you don't have this kind of immersion breaking circle around the point when trying to capture at any point in Company Heroes 1. It just looks more aesthetically pleasing in Company Heroes 1. Now, let's move on to Company Heroes Online. For those of you who still remember that there was actually another Company Heroes in the franchise. So Company Heroes Online was a sequel to the first one, but was more of an MMO type game, where it added a lot of cool customization effects and abilities into the game, which I really enjoyed. You were able to customize the look of your commander, the way his hair color, that kind of thing. These are all kind of gimmicks, but it was kind of nice to have this kind of extra layer of unique. You make yourself kind of unique and stand out among other people. Also, notice that you can also change and choose different abilities in your commanders, and as you leveled up, you strengthened each ability, and you could choose like a set of abilities to make your own commander, which was really cool. So this was one of the reasons why I love Company Heroes Online, because it made you unique. It made you stand out amongst all the other people, and which is the only company of heroes in the franchise that actually did that. So what do we want to see from a potential Company Heroes 3 after looking at all these points I've raised in this video? So here we have a bullet point list, and let's start with the first thing. So a campaign which focuses on the heroics of war. So let's not do what we did in Company Heroes 2, which angered a lot of people like the Russians, because it focused on the war crimes and stuff, and took away from the meaning of the franchise, which is Company of Heroes. We need to again focus on the heroics. Second point, lots of features at launch. It's always about initial impressions, right? You need to have all these important things on at launch, like the leaderboards, chat system, replays, etc. We need all these features ready and available at launch so people can get their teeth into something. They know they've got a really good game ahead of them. Third bullet point, easy and helpful UI. So like we talked about pings earlier on, so Company Heroes 3 should have extensive range of pings. So don't just attack here, defend here, and capture here. It could be like caution. It could be like a more improved type of ping. So you've got a normal alert. You might have a superior alert. So which should be only used in dire need of, like when your friendly is about to lose a unit, or you've alerted like as a tank, so you can have an alert to tell there's a tank over there, for instance. That could be cool. So things like that. So more information, so it's just easier for new players to get to grips with Company Heroes, because it is a difficult RTS to get into. So maybe a really good extensive tutorial. Less clutter as well. I know AE, if you guys know him, check him out on YouTube. He did a really good YouTube video recently on detailing how much UI and space is wasted in Company Heroes 2 and 1, where it could just be easily cleaned up and there could be so much more actual gameplay on the screen rather than just needless UI. So go check that video out. I'll probably link that in the description. No pay to win, that's a big one for the fourth bullet point. A lot of people, as soon as they see any kind of elements of pay to win, they will avoid it. I know Relic will never try and ever do something like pay to win, but they need to make sure that there's no kind of feeling of it. With the fact that we talked about the Tiger Ace. The Tiger Ace commander came out, people could buy it, and it was OP. So if they're going to make commanders, they need to make them balanced, when they bring them out, if they're going to charge money for them, because this will, inevitably start the whole pay-to-win palaver, as it were. And also, with the whole kind of microtransactions thing, they should be just cosmetic, in my opinion, rather than, you should be able to use money to buy commanders which should have an impact on the game. So microtransactions for cosmetics are totally fine, in my opinion, but no, nothing more than that. I would spend so much money if I could change the uniforms of my infantry, or I could change the way my base would look, so I could be more unique, And, along the lines of that, I would say, it would be a really good idea for, to have these kind of customization come into play with uniqueness in the form of your ladder rank. So if you were rank 1, only people who ever achieved rank 1 or top 10 or top 100 received these certain skins for their units, That would be cool. That would encourage people to play more. You need to have kind of ways to make people kind of play more. Another way to do that is with the currency system. So again, we talked about the currency, that the supply system that Relic have introduced in Company Heroes 2 late into its lifespan. That needs to be introduced at launch if they're going to do a currency system. So that, and all kind of microtransactions should be able to earn them through just playing the game, and maybe achieving challenges. Say like you get 100 kills on a certain unit, you will get a bonus of supply that you could use to buy a bulletin or a new cosmetic skin or something like that. And again, I'm going on about customization for that next bullet point. So people want, especially me, I want to stand out. I want to be able to people to see, for instance, that Tiger Tank skin and be like, holy crap, that's HelpingHans' Tiger skin. Watch out. He's using his Tiger. So, that's what I'm going to be wanting to see. So cool customization, so people would recognize certain vehicles and be like, oh damn, it's that guy's tank. That's a formidable unit. So that's what I really want. I want to be able to stand out. That's what I want. So and also more mechanics, units, and quality of life changes. So so when I talk about more new mechanics, things like being able to, if a person goes offline, you could be able to reconnect to the game. You can also share maybe units, that kind of thing in team games, which isn't in Company Heroes 1 or 2. That could be really good. If a player does disconnect and doesn't reconnect, you could control those units if you wanted to, rather than the AI. I've got, there's so many times I've just been really frustrated with, the AI just losing units and making a game, a winnable game, to turn into a possible game because the UI is just feeding the enemy veterancy and giving them away free units and support weapons and that kind of thing. So, and also new units. We need to see brand new units that the franchise hasn't seen before. So I would like to see something like the M3 Lee, the American tank, which has 2 main guns on it, which is really interesting. To imagine that, 2 guns firing on 1 tank at once. That's, the kind of new unit I'd like to see if we're going to stick with a World War II scenario. And again, quality of life change, like the reverse feature, so that was a nice quality of life change. You can reverse back your vehicles, and you didn't have to worry about trying to shift click, and it was just annoying to do that. So more kind of nice quality of life changes just to improve how easy it is to play Company Heroes. And also a new theatre of war. We have now used France quite a lot with obviously the D-Day in Company Heroes 1. We've now used the Eastern Front, so we've got Russia done. So other fronts in World War II that we haven't seen yet is obviously Africa and the Italian front. We haven't seen that. It would be cool to see like Monte Cassino, the Battle of Kasserine Pass, Tobruk, those kind of cool battles, Desert Fox versus Montgomery, that kind of thing. That would be really cool. Rommel versus Montgomery. That's more, that was always considered the gentleman's war. That's kind of more heroics. It's like, two of the great minds, great generals of the war fighting against each other. So that would be a cool way to go. But myself personally, I would have loved to see the Asian theatre of war, so with the Japanese. Love to be able to see, play as the Japanese. I just want to play as a new Axis faction. We've just been playing as the Germans the entire time in the Company Heroes franchise. I want to play as either the Italians or the Japanese. And just to be able to play as a cool, unique Axis faction would be really cool. And imagine if you could play a 3v3 where one team is playing as the Japanese, the Italians, and the Germans all on one side versus the British, the Soviets, and the Americans. How cool would that be, and how diverse would that be? That's 6 different factions. That'd be really hard to balance, mind you, but it would be bloody cool to see. Maybe even like China versus Japan. You never see that in video games, where the war started in 1937 over there. That would be really cool to see, maybe playing as the communist faction with Mao Zedong, or players like Chiang Kai-shek. That would have been really cool. Chiang Kai-shek versus the Japanese, and then you could fight the communists as well. That could be cool to see. Those kind of new kind of theatres of war. Watch as the Chinese forces trying to defeat an aggressive Japanese force. That could be kind of heroic in that right. And maybe the Japanese trying to defend Okinawa. That's pretty heroic and brave of them to try and fight against a formidable American naval invasion force. These are the kind of battles we want to see. We want to see focusing on the heroic side of war, like the ones I've just mentioned. Another thing I'd really like to see from a new Company Heroes 3 campaign would be a what-if scenario. So what if, for instance, Germany did a lot better in the war? They took Moscow, or they did certain strategies which actually made them victorious. You could do a German campaign where you could be successful. It's always annoying to play a German campaign where you're going to end up losing the war. But what if you played very well and you were the right general at the moment and you were able to change the war? That would be really cool to see. And then because the war lasted longer, you would have access to different technologies. For instance, the Mao's tank. That would be. Imagine how crazy that would be to see something like that in a Company Heroes 2 game. To be able to control a Mao's tank or fight off a Mao's tank as the allies. Like just something new and something cool. I think that's what we all want to see, right? Something a bit fresh like that, where it breaks historical accuracy, but it's fun, And it doesn't have to be 100% historically accurate, if you know what I mean. So I guess there we have it. I hope you really enjoyed this little video I put together. Sorry, it might have been a little bit long, but I put as many thoughts as I could into this video. Hope you found it interesting. Please put in the comment sections what you would like to see out of Company Heroes 3. If you thought my points were valid, or if you disagree with them, please let me know. I'm all up for debate. Let's go. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. And as always, if you want to watch a new video, there's should be a new video up here and over here. If you want to subscribe, it should be somewhere around here. And again, thanks for watching, and make sure you click on the notification bell so you know when I'm making new content. Take care, guys.